Welcome back to Just a Guy in a Truck podcast. I'm your host, Stanley Pygott. This week, we're riding along with Wendy Childs, the owner of Earth Moon Acupuncture. We're going to talk to Wendy this week about her approach to wellness and health, her story and how she came to fall in love with acupuncture, different techniques in the acupuncture arts, and sort of maybe dig into the science a little bit. All while we clean up the city one conversation at a time. We're going to pick up Wendy, but just before, we're going to have a word from our sponsor. Got spiders, ants, or worse? Don't panic. Bravo Pest Control here in Salem handles it all. Homes and businesses, fast, reliable, and knowledgeable. They will kick pests out and keep them out. With over 150 five-star reviews, they're quickly becoming a household name. Call Bravo today at 503-902-2264 or visit bravopestcontrolpnw.com to schedule a free inspection and your peace of mind. Thank you, Bravo Pest Control, for sponsoring today's cleanup.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so here's the name of the game.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to drive around town. We're going to pick up illegal dumping, so like couches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to say when we stop. So you're like kind of filling the truck. And then as we take it to the dump, you get to guess the weight. And then when we weigh out, we'll kind of see how close you were. And then we'll take your final weight and you get to write it up on the board. Right now, Travis Young is the leader.
Is he the winner?
At 780.
780. Holy moly.
And I think you have a distinct advantage today, though, because everything's wet. And water
You're right.
is heavy.
You're
I
right.
have gloves.
Okay.
So if you need gloves.
I did bring some, but
and then,
that's good.
It's good. Good to bring gloves. You've got great footwear on.
Yep.
So
Muck boots.
We're good. Okay. You ready to go? We're going to go over by kind of the Chemawa. How do you say
Chemawa.
I say Chemawa too, but people from outside say Chemawa.
Right. Well, they also say Willamette.
Right. Or Oregon. Okay. Cool. So what I'm going to start off with is, let's hear the backstory of you and Earth Moon Acupuncture. And massage?
And massage.
Okay.
Mostly acupuncture.
Okay. Well, you've been doing it for, you said?
I've been an acupuncturist 27 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Or more.
And how did you what got you into it? I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, so it almost feels like forever ago, right?
Yeah, it's it kind of blows my mind that I've been an acupuncturist this long.
Mm-hmm.
I got into it, so I when I was in my early 20s, I moved to Baltimore from Buffalo, New York, and there I started meeting some acupuncturists because I was in a meditation group and there were a lot of acupuncturists in the group. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And but I didn't think I had a good reason to try acupuncture myself. Like I was like, I'm healthy. I'm in my 20s. Like I don't need acupuncture. And finally, I had a friend who just happened to mention one day, acupuncture can help depression. And I was like, can? And she's like, well, I've been telling you that for a year. Like, you have? I just wasn't ready to hear it. And so I started going, and I didn't even think it was helping. Although I was like, oh, my periods were smoother. I wasn't as in much pain. Like there was other things that was helping. And then my acupuncturist went on vacation for a few weeks and I started doing, and it was February, I started going like back into my old depressed state, my winter depression. And I was like, oh, it has been helping. Like I had no clue until I saw the contrast. And then I'm like, okay, this is real.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it took that, seeing that contrast that really convinced me that something was happening. Although I was experiencing physical benefits, but not the first reason I went, which was to help with depression.
Okay. And so then you were like, I gotta use this to help other people, type of thing.
I was working in a bookstore at the time, in a mall, and I was assistant manager. I was heading for management, right? Mm-hmm. But all of the managers were super stressed, just super stressed out people, and I was like, they all look really stressed, and all the acupuncturists I know look really relaxed and zen. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what if I could use, and I'm like, I'm relatively smart. I could learn this stuff, and I could do this kind of work. I could be a type of magician, like I always read a lot of fantasy and science fiction.
Okay.
As a kid, I'm like, I could be a magician in this lifetime because it feels like magic. Like, I don't think it's magic, but because it's working at a level that science doesn't really understand, it feels like magic.
Right.
And and you could say, like, for instance, quantum physics is probably closer to acupuncture than other science, like biological science or anything like that.
Okay. Like in the way that just the understanding is just so unknown, and
No, it's more like, what I'm saying is everything is vibration. Okay, so when you look at the atomic level, your atoms are vibrating.
Brownian motion. That's what they call that in physics.
Really?
I have a degree in physics.
You do?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How amazing. Okay. So in physics, everything's motion, and there's vibration, and so basically my thinking about acupuncture is it's vibrational medicine. It's giving your cell, and your body is completely connected, and it's connected in ways that even Western medicine doesn't really acknowledge that much. Okay. Like there's an amazing book called The Spark in the Machine, and it's written by a doctor, I think it was an ER doctor from Britain, who started studying Chinese medicine. He was asking these questions, and his Chinese doctors were like, you are going to write the book that answers these questions. And he's like, what are you talking about? But basically, he wrote a book, and he discusses how with embryology, like the way we are created in utero, shows the connectedness that acupuncture actually explains. Like that, for whatever reason, thousands of years ago, Chinese medicine worked on the same principles that if you look at the way the body is formed, they match up, they align.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then so back to, you started learning this. Mm-hmm. At what point so you're in Maryland at this point?
I'm in Maryland. So I'm receiving acupuncture. I'm like, you know what? I could do this. I could do this. I could go back to school. It's a master's degree. I already had a bachelor's degree.
Right.
I had a bachelor's in English literature.
Like, well,
it was general, liberal arts education.
Right.
It's really warm in here if you can
drink. It is. I have it on. We can actually pop these windows.
Awesome.
These old
school. I love it. Fantastic.
This is I love this truck so much. It's got 52,000 original miles on it. It's an almost 30-year-old truck.
Wow.
I know.
It's like brand new.
Yeah, it's basically, it doesn't feel like it's brand new, but some days. But anyways, right. So you're learning, you've got an English.
So I have and I'm working in a bookstore, and I'm heading for management, and I'm like, you know what? I could do this. Like, to me, it would, like, it's a more profound impact on the world. I wanted to do something that was significant. And, I briefly had thought about, like, becoming a psychiatrist kind of person. And but then I would have to talk to people and, like, just work on the mental level.
Right.
And I felt like, especially with my experience with acupuncture actually helping alleviate my depression, I was like, I could work, like, this works on the mental level, but it works at it from a physical level type of thing. And I like working with my hands.
Right.
So it worked for me, And I feel really fortunate, right? Because this was This was in '95. I started school,
Okay.
and as you might
I was
or might not
I
know,
was knee high to a grasshopper.
Amazon was like becoming a thing,
Right.
and the bookstores went out of business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
wow, I was really like this was very good.
It was like it is weird how sometimes life feels like it like switches for you, and you're just like, whew, dodge that bullet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really. It really. It. I feel it's grace. Actually, it was total grace
Sure.
that
Yeah.
that led me into this path. And back then, in the '90s, doctors were like, "Well, if you want to try snake oil medicine and pay for it, then that's up to you." Like they did not believe in it at all.
Right.
And now it's 2025, and doctors are our biggest referral source.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Back then doctors were like, well, if you want to take the probiotics, you can waste your money, and now they're prescribing probiotics, they're prescribing vitamin D, they're doing all of the things that 20 or 30 years ago, I guess it's now 30 years, they poo-pooed. So,
well, yeah, I'm a
acupuncture's one of
big
them.
believer in vitamin D because I work outside all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, even on the worst day, I'm like, still like, I have what I call ominous optimism, where it's like, you're gonna be fine. You have no choice.
Right. You might as well be fine because the options are not good.
Right. And so you'll just, it's very rare to catch me on a gloomy bad day. I'm just
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I personally believe that it's just literally from me working outside and
yes,
absorbing
although
sun.
my and I do think actually the sun's really important, and now I've just started to not wear sunglasses because I think I just learned just like literally 2 weeks ago that our eyes, we know our eyes are kind of a whole separate part of the human body.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the eyes have their own blood pressure system, right? Like you could have high blood pressure in your eyes even if you don't have it in the rest of your body. Okay. So apparently the eyes register sunlight and tell your body, your skin, to produce more melanin to protect yourself from the sunlight.
Okay.
And so if you're wearing sunglasses, your eyes don't get that signal and don't tell your skin, and you're more likely to burn. So I'm experimenting with it. I just got glasses that aren't also sunglasses, and kind of exposing myself to sunlight, especially in the morning, without any glasses on, just to like kind of bathe in the sunlight in the mornings.
Yeah.
Because in general, in Oregon, we're vitamin D deficient.
Yeah. Yeah. If you live in Oregon, you
just
take some
vitamin
D. The
same was true for me growing up in Western New York State. It's one of the cloudiest counties in the country where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And I think I was vitamin D deficient. And I think that was actually part of my depression, for my whole early life. So
okay. So we're practicing acupuncture. We're moving. Okay. We're in Maryland. You move out to Oregon, or you travel out.
2010, moved to Oregon.
Okay.
Yep.
Bold move.
It was bold, I know, right?
Like that's right after the recession of 2008.
Well, that's partly why. Actually, I started a business in Baltimore that, with a couple of other people. It was a acupuncture, yoga studio, and that failed in 2008.
Got it.
We could not sustain it.
Sure.
And so, so I'm like, well, I actually still had an acupuncture practice that I was doing fine, but I was wanting change, and I was kind of wanting out of a big city. And so, so I moved with my then partner. I moved to Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys move right to Salem, or did you guys?
No, we moved to Portland first.
Uh-huh.
And Portland, I didn't think there could be a market that was too saturated with acupuncturists, but Portland would be that market. Like I had no idea. Now there's a little more, but like at the time there's probably 1,000 acupuncturists in the state of Oregon.
Okay.
900 of them were in the Portland area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Though, that does kind of check off though, right? 'Cause
yeah.
Portland does
And it had 2 schools at the time for acupuncture, and people would come to school for acupuncture and stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm doing a different style of acupuncture. I'm sure I could not start a practice in Portland. Not easily. I mean, maybe I probably could have, but it wasn't that easy. And so when I started down here, I had a friend actually also from Maryland who was practicing acupuncture down here and started a community acupuncture clinic. She convinced me to give Salem a try, and I did, and it started building, and so I moved down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's now, you're like 2010, 2011,
Yes,
2012?
now it's 15 years. Yeah, 2012 I started down here and started building a practice, and when it got to be more than 2 days a week, I was like, that's it, I'm moving to Salem. I'm not going to commute from Portland 3+ days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's been building ever since.
And it's just, now it's just, would you say you're the 600-pound gorilla in the acupuncture market in Salem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys did win Best of Willamette Valley in 2020.
I did. We did. That was a surprise, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And if I worked at it, we probably could have won more of those. But and they don't have. It was for alternative medicine. They don't have a category for acupuncturists. They just have alternative, which I'm good with.
They put us all in cleaning services, so carpet cleaning.
Oh wow!
Junk removal, house cleaning, exterior pressure wash. All of us.
That makes it very hard, competition wise.
It's not my competition, so I don't get to dictate the rules. But
right.
But yeah. So okay, all right. Well, that's pretty kind of a big story. What's like when did you know that it was like you were like that was just the place you were meant to be? I guess.
Well, even okay. So as an acupuncturist, I definitely have had times in my life where I'm like, maybe I should do something else. It hasn't always been super prosperous, right? And
business ebbs and flows.
Right. Now and not all states, like Oregon is unique in that most of the insurance providers will have some kind of acupuncture benefits.
Right.
And I take insurances. And so then people aren't paying out of pocket. So it's not it's not as arbitrary as it used to be. Because if you have insurance and your insurance is paying, you are way more likely to come in or get treatment, even if the economy is prices are up and everything's tighter.
Right.
If you're not paying out of pocket for your treatments, then you're just paying a copay, then you're more likely to continue in treatment.
Right. Okay.
And the downside of that is that people aren't as invested if they're not paying anything for treatment. They're not always as invested in
their own success.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And but we take Oregon Health Plan, we take the VA.
Okay.
And VA a few years ago, I think VA has always been dabbling in acupuncture, but a few years ago they really started recommending it. Mm-hmm. And partly it was because of the opioid crisis, I would say, when all government agencies, and especially here in Oregon, they were like, you need to telling doctors basically, you need to do something besides prescribe drugs.
Right.
And so they started saying you need to prescribe chiropractic, physical therapy, acupuncture, even massage.
Okay.
Even yoga, was one of the things that Oregon was saying. You need to recommend this instead of drugs. And so it increased the number of people that could come see us.
The VA is getting really, as somebody who I am a veteran and I've received veteran benefits, they have gotten a little bit more, they're using psilocybin to help with PTSD.
That's great.
Microdosing, I believe.
Right.
I'm not too into it. I don't really know that much about it, but I've heard that that's something they're starting to experiment with and do testing and trials on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I know that the VA is getting a little bit. They're dabbling more into the what I guess back in 1995 they would have snake oil or
Right, more
stuff.
likely. Although let me think, in 2000, in the early 2000s, I was teaching at my acupuncture school that I went to school with in Maryland, and I had a student who was in the military, and he actually was practicing acupuncture underneath there was a doctor in the military that was doing acupuncture at the bases in Maryland. Yeah.
Okay.
In Virginia. I think maybe the base was in Virginia. But they were practicing, and so my student was practicing acupuncture on base because he could. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't have a license yet. And he's like, no, I can practice because it's the military. It's totally different. And he was under the direction of a doctor who was
it's true. Yeah.
Also an acupuncturist.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've been doing it. They called it battlefield acupuncture. They were doing a lot of ear acupuncture points for PTSD, for pain relief and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the military has been dabbling in acupuncture for a long time, but now the VA, so veterans can benefit as well.
Okay.
And so that's part of what's changed.
Got it.
And yeah, I mean, they are. It's the VA can be challenging to work with a little bit, but it is great.
They want it their way.
They want, yeah.
Oh, they got the mattress. There's been a mattress here, so
okay.
they've actually done a lot of cleaning up underneath.
They have.
Like it's not so bad. This might be a tougher episode to pull off than normal.
Do we have any garbage bags?
So unfortunately,
are we not picking up the small?
We're
stuff?
not picking up the small stuff.
Okay.
And it's kind of a double-edged sword because the small stuff most people can handle. You can just come and pick up stuff, but it's the big stuff that has the issue.
Right.
But we can get the big stuff. I would love to.
There's some big stuff.
Ooh. All right, let's turn around.
Okay.
So I want to jump into.
There's big stuff over there too.
There is big stuff. This is why I wanted to come over here. There's a truck coming. I don't want to.
There is a truck coming. Yeah.
I don't want him to get all grumpy with me. Maybe I'll just sit here for a second and let him go around. Let's go grab this stuff, and then I want to dig in a little bit on because I would consider myself slightly skeptical with regards to a lot of medicine like that.
Yeah. No, I think it's good to be skeptical.
What you were actually telling me before we started shooting was that you actually prefer the people who are skeptical.
Yes.
So let's grab this and then let's jump into that part of the conversation.
Okay. That'll be fun.
Where did we see the big stuff?
There's some stuff right here. Oh yeah, there's right here.
Oh yeah. There's like a torn up couch.
Torn up couch. There's a tire. Do we do tires?
Tires are tough. I would love to do tires. They're really expensive though. They're expensive to get rid of.
Right.
So
how expensive?
They are $10 a piece. And that stacks up pretty quick.
Yeah, it does.
Because I can stick probably 300 or 400 tires in this truck.
Oh yeah, easily.
But
that's a huge amount of money.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So I'm going to take my microphone off.
You want me to take mine off?
Yeah, we'll take that microphone off. And then you said you have gloves. You want to use yours or you want to use...
I think they're about the same as what you've got. So
okay,
I'll just
perfect.
spray paints and other paints.
People use this spot so much to illegally dump. It's such a problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's a problem. That's a problem that I'm hoping to solve.
Well, I love that you're doing this. I really commend you for doing it. I love picking up trash.
It's good.
Yeah.
It feels good. It's like that same feeling you get when you return shopping carts.
Yes.
Corral.
Yep.
It's just it's a simple little thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it has such a big impact.
Yes.
Anyway, woo-woo versus actual science in the acupunctural arts.
Okay. Well, let me give you. So you know the NIH, the National Institute of Health.
Okay.
So for years they would say acupuncture doesn't work because we're coming up on another big
I'm
road.
gonna let you make your point.
Okay.
I'll pull over here by it, and then we'll.
Okay, sounds good.
Hopefully, Salem PD or the county won't come and say something. But
so for years, the NIH would say acupuncture doesn't work because they would try doing double-blind studies, and they would compare actual acupuncture with what they call sham acupuncture.
Okay.
Versus whatever, like a drug or something, conventional medicine. But this sham acupuncture was doing things like putting a needle in not an acupuncture point.
Okay.
Or using toothpicks to poke on the points instead of needles. So the actual acupuncture was a needle in the point. The sham acupuncture was a toothpick poking on the point. So the person would feel something. But the thing that the NIH was like, well, acupuncture doesn't work. We can't say it works because the sham acupuncture is still effective. Okay. So they would find acupuncture to be effective and sometimes more effective than the conventional approach. But they also found the sham acupuncture to be effective, and so then they were saying that we have to throw out the study because the sham acupuncture is almost as effective as real acupuncture.
So there's like a placebo effect type of deal.
No, the thing that they don't understand and didn't understand is that there's no such thing as sham acupuncture. If you're going to poke a needle in somebody, you're going to have some effect. If you're going to poke a toothpick on an acupuncture point, you're going to have an effect. Because there's even styles of acupuncture where they put the needle and they put it over the point. They don't actually insert it into the skin, and it still has an effect because our body doesn't end at the skin, right? We have an energetic field that extends beyond our skin,
right?
And so you can't.
This is the thing that they talk about in physics: is since there's electrical current moving through you, you have this like electrical field around your body. It's very, very minute. It's very weak, but it's
still there,
right?
And so it can still be influenced by a needle above the skin or by a toothpick poking on a point.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically now, and I can't remember what year they actually said this, but now the NIH has said, the head of the NIH Alternative Medicine Division said, what they're saying now is there is an effect that we don't understand. Okay. Because the sham acupuncture is often still more effective than nothing or than the Western medicine.
Okay.
So now they're saying we don't understand, but there is an effect that is effective with acupuncture that goes beyond placebo.
Right.
So basically they recognize that sham acupuncture is having an effect and does not disregard the whole study, but actually says, okay, there is some effect here. We don't understand the mechanism.
Does the sham acupuncture kind of discredit the actual, like, it doesn't? There's not like...
No, because
when you say sham, I think it's like, it's fake acupuncture.
Right. Well, but they're calling it sham acupuncture because they're trying to find something where the person doesn't where the person is feeling something or getting a needle, but not in the acupuncture point. What they don't really understand is that there are different systems of acupuncture where, like there's extra acupuncture points, like in places that aren't the official places.
Okay.
That, there's...
It's like
hundreds of systems, different systems.
Got it.
You know, there's Korean acupuncture, Japanese, Chinese.
Right.
You know, even like Taiwan has a whole older style of acupuncture that wasn't influenced by Mao, for instance. So there's lots of different styles of acupuncture and lots of places where, you know, like the region. It's so funny because I have a patient. I said to her, because she's like, "Is that the same place where my other acupuncturists put the point?" And I said, "Well, each point is a region.
Okay.
Like you can't just say this is the point, like this point that I showed you earlier. This is the point. That point is actually this
size of a quarter.
Size of a quarter. Like in terms of the influence, you could poke on anything within that region and still be hitting that point. And the Chinese might put it here, the Japanese put it here. You know, a full like 3/4 of an inch apart.
and they might have, I guess, greater different magnitude effects, right?
They're all effective.
Right.
That's the thing.
So if
the Chinese style is effective, the Japanese style is effective. They're all effective. And that's why if you're like, well, the real point is here, but we're going to do sham acupuncture here, and then they're still having an effect, and you're like, well, you know what? That is still on a channel. It's still going to have some kind of effect. So it might not have as much, but it's going to still be effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have a different magnitude.
Right.
Well, and then I guess what you're saying, like Japanese style, if you're like on top of a high magnitude area and then you have another peak point that's on a low magnitude area, it creates a like sort of a conduit type.
Yeah. Okay. So right, and this goes into the piezoelectric current that's in our bodies, right? And so, and this again is a theory of how acupuncture works, which is that when you look at the fascial structures of the body, like how we're connected with the fascia. Are you worried about cars?
No, I'm
okay.
I'm making sure we're safe.
Yes.
Sorry, military brain.
I totally appreciate that. So if you look at the fascial structures of the body, they completely match the acupuncture meridians.
Okay.
And the fascia of our body, the connective tissue, holds a lot of water.
Okay.
Like we think, okay, we've heard like our body is whatever, 86% water, 90% water, something like that. That water is not just in the circulatory system.
Right.
It's actually in our interstitium. It's in each cell.
Metabolic water is what they call it in biology, I think.
It's in each cell.
Right.
Right? It's in the interstitium and it's in the circulatory system.
Right.
You know, it's in the lymphatic system.
We're all
right. We're
cells.
all like
it's
the whole thing is cells.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of water, and basically within the fascia, they have discovered that there's a piezoelectric connectivity that is a communication system in the body.
Yeah.
And there are some theorists that say acupuncture is working on that system.
Okay.
And I would totally concur that that is at least one of the systems or the mechanisms by which acupuncture works is through that system.
One of it sounds like, okay, so in biology, and I hated biology when I took it, but one of the things that they talked about that I thought was really interesting was cell signaling.
Oh, yeah.
So like how your body, like even just pushing on something, it has this radiating effect, and it tells a bunch of different systems that about what's going on, and like tells your brain, and like it's
and from reading that book, the Spark in the Machine, the cell signaling. So what he was talking about is in embryology there are like mast cells. There are cells that basically are one. They start out as one unit, and then through the divisioning process, they end up. There's a little bit of that cell in the heart tissue. There's a little bit of that same structure in the kidney tissue. There's some of that structure in all of these different organs. And this is like the miracle of physics. They are still communicating with each other, even though they're in these separate organs.
That's where you would bring in the whole, string theory, and that part of stuff is like, what is that called? When you have two different like electrons,
right?
You switch
separate,
it, and it like,
and it has an effect at a distance, and
entanglement.
somehow acupuncture theory that is 2,000 years old,
Mm-hmm.
although it has evolved over time. But some of the basic acupuncture basically understood that same concept. I don't know how.
They probably didn't know that it was that.
Right. They didn't have those words for it, but they said, oh,
Something.
The heart and the small intestine communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a communication that's happening between these organs
Mm-hmm.
that acupuncture theory talks about.
Hmm.
That's extremely old. So, no, they didn't have the same language, but they talked about it actually very elegantly.
Okay. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. Let's grab these bags,
Okay.
and then we'll move to the next site. And I want to talk about these different styles. I'm actually gonna throw this cup. I think that's a little cheating, but
I don't see.
I'm allowed. I'm the
You're
rules. I'm allowed to change the rules on a whim.
That's right.
I mean, yeah. Well, we don't know what's in it, though. You know, we see that it's dark green, but there could be something else in it. Found somebody who might be illegally going. Hey. I don't know. It looks like they're getting ready to do something good if you don't know.
Oh, you think they're about to
They might be turning around.
This is what we do. Start filming.
Oh, we're already filming. The camera, yep. They're doing the off-hours. Nothing like, bro, we got you on blast.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just use muscle. Send that through. I tell you.
There's more right up
Yeah,
there.
I see it.
Okay, I'll meet you up there.
Oh, you want? Well, we gotta have a conversation.
Oh, okay.
Plus, it's probably not safe to walk on the side of the road like this. Like, I tell you, I know the people at home can't smell it, but this truckload has a very yes, it's quite offensive to the olfactory system.
Yes.
What's the actually? That's a really good question because it's a really short distance that we have to drive.
Okay.
Had a good friend of mine. He wanted to know with the olfactory system. He suffers from issues regarding seasonal allergies.
Oh yeah.
And he's heard that acupuncture can help.
Yes.
So what would be, like, I'm not saying anybody should do their own acupuncture, especially if they're not trained, but what would be the point? What would be the point that they would push on to get relief? Just even medium relief.
Even medium relief. Well, I actually, here we go. Okay, so actually, this point on the hand is a start.
Okay.
Because
So,
it
like,
goes, yeah, because the meridian goes to the nose, and then tapping here and here. So right next to the nose.
Could you do that simultaneously? You have to do that simultaneously?
You don't have to.
Just press it and then just kind of...
Yeah, you can just do some tapping.
Or even use a toothpick.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's sham.
true.
It's the sham acupuncture.
Right, but it's effective.
I actually don't really want to do that
because our hands are so disgusting. I know.
You're just sitting here touching my face. Oh.
I know. Well, we were wearing gloves, but yes,
we were.
Even so,
the
there is this
seeps through.
This ick feeling of.
So you just tap.
So you can tap. Yeah.
So is it just like on one side or the other, or
either or both? Yeah.
Okay.
One side or both.
Do this,
yeah. You could do that if you wanted to. Yeah. And then if it's like affecting, like if there's headache or head congestion, you could do right like in the middle above the eyebrows or on the eyebrow.
Okay. Which
is also
push?
pretty good. Yeah, you could push or you could tap.
Like that?
Yeah.
Ahoy! Hey there!
Hi, Dad.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
See ya.
Take it easy.
All right. I see a couple mattresses. They're gonna be wet and they're gonna be heavy.
Yes. Oh man, I'm gonna try to beat that 780.
I think you can do it. I think we're getting there.
Okay. Okay, and we can see our next destination is just a few There it's ahead.
But this is a hot spot. This is the one so on the weekly posts or the bi-monthly. I don't know. I ask every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the ones that everybody talks about.
Right.
I think we're safe. Famous last words. I will tell you, this feels, as the person who drives this truck pretty regularly, this thing is starting to feel kind of heavy.
Okay.
So, if that's good words.
Oh, yeah. It's a part of what Lazy Boy looks like. And more garbage. A lot of garbage. Wow.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's really bad. It's really.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see. What's a quick one? What is a new patient going to expect on their first visit to you?
Okay. So on the first visit, we have people fill out a pretty comprehensive health questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
And then we usually go over like their main complaint and then anything else that we are like especially surgeries, past surgeries,
mm-hmm.
past medical history, that with big stuff.
Yeah.
But interestingly, people often kind of discount old things. But if there's scars or surgical interventions of any type,
mm-hmm.
even like got your tonsils out when you were, 10 years old,
mm-hmm.
or appendectomy, scar, stuff like that, we want to know. Because a lot of, like, anytime you're cutting into the body, you are changing it. Right? Kind of forever. And scars can have a big impact. Even, all kinds of scars. But it's interesting because I brought one of my patients up to see one of my teachers
mm-hmm.
one year, and the teacher was like, "You've got a scar here on your forehead," and she's in her like 50s at least, or 60s, and she's like, "Well, I got that when I was 6 years old, split my head on the coffee table kind of thing."
Okay.
And she's like, the teacher said, "Well, does it hurt? Like, pressing on it, does it hurt?" "Yeah, it actually still hurts."
Yeah.
So the scar still hurt 50 years later. And the woman had clinical depression. And my teacher was like, do you know, like, blows to the head can cause depression.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I've always thought that there was a relationship there." My patient was like, TBIs, "I've always thought." TBIs.
A lot of people with TBIs have a lot of depression.
Absolutely.
Depressive issues.
Absolutely. Because it's shaking your brain.
Right.
And if you have more than one, and if you have more than, so if you had an auto accident, I've had totally know people like this. You have an auto accident, you had you were rear-ended, you have whiplash, and then you were hit by the side, and so your head went like this. Or people in the military in a tank.
Yeah.
You don't even have to hit your head.
This truck, you've seen how we're shaking back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but this is nothing compared to some of those military vehicles, right? But if you can experience an impact from an IED that where you don't even hit your head, but the impact hits your brain. Your brain is relatively soft. Your brain goes, hits your skull.
Mm-hmm.
So your brain actually had a traumatic brain injury, even though your head didn't hit anything, but you experienced a blast over here. You experienced
So you fill out a questionnaire when you get into the clinic. And then,
so
you're good.
Sorry,
ADHD, it's fine.
I know, I love it. So and so you fill out the questionnaire. You have a conversation with your acupuncturist. We usually do a physical exam,
mm-hmm.
Which involves basically usually palpating the areas of pain, like the back or the shoulder, whatever is going on, if there's an area of pain, or just checking for reflexes, because if there's a reflex in the area, meaning that your body is sensitive to touch,
mm-hmm.
And there's a whole, it would take longer to go into it, but there's a whole system, right, of looking for reflexes that will tell us where to start, where in the body we need to start.
Right.
And then we're looking for things that help reduce that pain.
Right. Okay.
And so you're going to experience that your pain's being reduced.
Right. Okay.
Or if that's the reason you're there, or some things take longer, or like women with menstrual irregularities or something like that, or trying to get pregnant, fertility stuff, that's going to take, a series of treatments. Most things take a series of treatments. Sometimes people get really good results in 1 or 2 treatments. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's grab this stuff.
Alrighty. You've got the right tools for the job.
I love it. Oh, there's some belching.
Yeah, heartburn.
No, not heartburn. Just
No?
gas. Just excess gas, I think.
Uh-huh.
Probably something acupuncture can help with.
You got it. I know. My partner's like, if he leaves you in the truck, don't fart.
Yeah. The microphone, yeah, it's sensitive. It's not that sensitive. All right. So, now that we got ourselves a nice long drive, I feel like talking about different styles of acupuncture.
Okay.
So, you mentioned that there was, through my research, it seemed like it's all pretty much Eastern medicine.
Yes.
And then, I'm going to use hand sanitizer here. Feel free to goop yourself up if you need.
More.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're
it's
full.
It's pervasive.
Wow.
It's a problem all up and down this bad boy.
Wow.
That's why people talk about it.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's shopping carts everywhere. I want to do a special shopping cart episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so different forms, different methods, and then it seems like from what I was researching on your practice is you kind of marry the different styles together. Am I in the ballpark of that, or am I completely off basis?
Not off base, but every single acupuncturist is going to have an amalgam of the different styles they've learned from their different teachers.
Okay.
So, way back when, traditional China, Korea, Japan, chances are good you would be an acupuncturist because your parents and grandparents were acupuncture. Like it was a family tradition, and so you would learn the family tradition.
Okay.
That really changed under Mao because he tried to destroy traditional medicine, and then he said, "Oh, we have to institutionalize it. We have to create schools."
When you say Mao, you mean like Mao Zedong?
Mao Zedong, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think there were already some schools of acupuncture, but then he kind of institutionalized it and also tried to standardize it.
Okay.
But before that, it was all lineage. Like you study under a master and you learn their style. And so there was no consensus. You can go back into history and look at the arguments that were had in the literature of is this point on the gallbladder channel or is it on the stomach channel? Well, why would the stomach channel be going up here? Do you know what I mean? They would have arguments about location of points, what channel it was on, sort of the theory that we now learn in school was all a subject of debate for centuries.
A quasi-Socratic method type thing, like Socrates.
I guess so.
Okay.
Sometimes, and China is a huge place.
Sure.
And also, there, in terms of, and this is part of sort of the history. So I used to teach the history of Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So I could really go on about this for a long time. But basically, the influences were from China would go into Japan, and then there would be war between the two countries, and so there would be a lack of communication for sometimes centuries, and then
you're good.
Couch for another day, and then and so Japanese acupuncture evolved a little bit differently because of the lack of communication, because there was a lot of conflict between the two countries. With Korea, there's a mountain range in between, so there would be some communication coming through and then not communication. And in China, there would be like communication hubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where some acupuncturists, or I wouldn't say in China it's more Chinese medicine, because actually one of the main forms of Chinese medicine in China are Chinese herbs,
Okay.
which are not as well known in this country, even though here in Oregon there is one of the oldest herbal pharmacies in John Day, Oregon, that was discovered. Basically, the herbalist who came from China in like the 1880s,
Okay.
90s,
During
and
like
he
the
set up.
Chinese like
There was kind of a Chinese influx.
Yeah.
And he set up shop in John Day with another friend who was an importer, and he practiced Chinese medicine, which was herbalism.
Okay.
And he actually sent herbs all over the country. And if you ever get a chance in John Day, it's definitely worth going to visit. There's now a museum and his house, and he basically would send packets of herbs to people all over the United States.
Oh, through like a courier system, a mail system.
Through the mail, yeah.
Okay. And he'd like dry them out and stuff.
Well, dried herbs, yeah, are really the way it, a lot of the way it's all dried herbs, mostly, yeah. And so that is Chinese medicine. So Chinese medicine practiced in China, it's not just acupuncture. Acupuncture became famous in the United States, and kind of took off. Chinese herbalism is also practiced in the United States, but it's just not as well known.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Chinese medicine. So yes, so there were hubs in China, basically, where communication was transferred, where people would learn about different techniques or different things, and but every region has its own style. Every lineage is its own style,
right.
And some with completely unique names and locations of points, but there's always overlap.
Okay.
So where I learned a more Japanese style of acupuncture, the overlap with the Chinese styles of acupuncture are there. We might call them a different name or have a different number for them, but there's still overlap, even with styles that were really independent, like this one style that is from Taiwan, and he has his own numbering system, his own names, but they correlate to acupuncture points that are on the main regular channels.
So it's sort of like
every single acupuncturist that is practicing today,
right,
has their own style, right? And it's an amalgam of what they learn from their teachers and from their own professional clinical experience. Because when you start practicing acupuncture, you are learning by doing it. Even though you might know a whole bunch of theory, and all the schools have a really decent clinical experience, you have a long clinical experience,
mm-hmm.
but you're also learning from what you're feeling when you're touching the channels and touching the points and needling the points, and then also what your clients are responding back to you, and you discover, oh look, this point is really effective for this number of conditions, or sometimes it's effective and sometimes this one's more effective, and I have to see which one is going to be better.
Right. So it's like the regions they found. Without any kind of prompting, everybody kind of found that the regions were all the same. And then the different ways the different combinations of pressure points and stuff, that's what the styles are. That's the different styles. So it's like, there's this region here, and you were talking about this region here, but it's
right.
Like, if you put the needle here and then the needle here, you have a different response than if you put the needle here and the needle here.
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
Could be, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and different connections, and honestly, I mean, people will tell me, oh, when you needled me in this point here, I felt this other point on my leg light up. So I needle a point in the arm, and they're like, wow, I really felt that other point that you already needled light up, like they're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So people give me those kinds of reports,
mm-hmm.
and I also have my own experience with acupuncture, and I've experienced different things, and so then you're like, oh, okay, there's a connection that's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
and the connection between the points that we're choosing, and it's almost like creating a symphony, and you're adding in this instrument and that instrument and that instrument, and then you're creating this whole piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's like for the body as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then
and then you were talking about how like scars, so like each individual person, or I suppose each person that has a condition in a certain spot, because we all go through, like I've got a big old surgical scar on my hip, and then I've got I put my hands through all sorts of meat grinders, so I don't even know if they're even usable, but like those different
they're
things,
still functioning,
right?
But yes,
I can still use them, but
every single person is unique, and so that's why like every single person who comes in with a headache, for instance, and you're like, okay, there's definitely some points that are classically indicated for treatment of headaches. However, what's the nature of your headache? What's going on? Right. Do you have scars that are influencing it? Have you had traumatic brain injuries?
Stresses.
Are there stresses, right? Where are you holding the tension? Is the tension, there's thousands of different reasons why you might be having a headache different from me or from somebody else, right? There's different styles of headaches. Like I used to get, there's sort of a lack of fluid kind of headache. I used to get headaches with my periods regularly, but that kind of headache is going to be completely different from the headache from a traumatic brain injury. Right. It's going to be treated, it's going to be best treated differently. Like maybe this is why there's no cookie cutter acupuncture, right? Because you are a very unique person. And this scar on your leg and hip could be affecting, it actually could be causing the headaches. But if we didn't do a comprehensive history, if we were just like, oh, headache, here, I'll put these needles in.
Right.
It's not going to be as effective.
Right. I mean, but it could still help.
It could still help.
Okay.
But that's why we try to do a comprehensive history. And that's why, and it's, so this is why the skeptic is actually usually better than the person, because we can kind of do our thing and be like, let's, and educate and go, okay, even though, because people are like this all the time, okay, I've got a headache, why aren't you putting needles in my head? And I'm like, because the needles in your feet are going to do a better job. Or because we have to take care of this scar, which is still painful and affecting you, or it's still red and angry looking, even though it's 10 years old, right? Or something like that. Okay, we actually have to treat the scar in order to treat your head, because it's on the same channel. The channel starts on the head and goes down to the feet, and that scar is on the channel that could be affecting your head.
Okay.
Or your feet, like I'm just saying, I'm just using the head as an example, but It could be some other part of your body. So, and even Western medicine, one of those things, it's like, I've got a headache right here on my base of my neck. Well, on the right side only, it actually could be your gallbladder, right? Or shoulder pain on the right side.
Right.
It actually could be your gallbladder. Or the way people experience heart attacks, right? They're like, I've got pain in my jaw.
You got this radiating pain.
Right, and it's like, could you help treat my jaw?
I've never had a heart attack thing.
Knock wood. Exactly. but we know that those are some of the signs and symptoms. Right. So if you only treated the jaw, that's not actually going to take care of the problem. Right, without a more comprehensive look at the whole body. And so acupuncture, this is the downside of working with insurance companies. Are like, you can only treat low back pain. And it's like, you know what? The scar on the ankle could be what's causing the low back pain. The fact that you trashed your ankle and had, all these surgeries and all of this stuff could be actually influencing the rest of your body.
Right. The kinetic line that they talk about with in the military is, if you mess up your foot, or you mess up your ankle, or you mess up your knee, mess up your hip, any of that, the entire kinetic line all the way up to the base of your skull, because you walk funny, or you hurt your knee, so then you walk funny to try and compensate, and then that messes up another joint, your hips, and then your back. You can find that throughout the entire body, one small thing in a place down here can actually cause problems in your lower neck.
All the way up the line, or down the line, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, this is the hardball question right
here. Okay.
Okay, so I know chiropractics, right, there are stories and there is danger with using certain chiropractic methods and stuff like that. I know a lot of chiropractors that I know personally don't use those sorts of things,
Right.
or whatnot. Is there? I would imagine that there is a risk. Oh, we're gonna get to go right up. There's no line
Sweet.
today.
That's great.
Is there a danger? Like, is there?
Yes.
Can you actually hurt somebody with acupuncture?
Yes, you can.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so usually the danger is with people who aren't trained. And this is why, and this was recently in the legislature in Oregon, that now I believe they've passed something saying physical therapists can perform acupuncture
Mm-hmm.
and what's called dry needling. And this is acupuncture's fight against this kind of thing because
Of a lack of training.
there's no requirement. There's no training requirement for them. I believe, as I understand the bill, they don't have to have training and they can practice acupuncture. And you're like, what? Like, since when did physical therapists learn anything about needling anybody? So that's the danger, because if you are not trained, and honestly, in Oregon, medical doctors can do acupuncture without training, but they have a lot more internal medicine training.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it, and most doctors actually don't perform acupuncture, so they'd rather like send the person to an acupuncturist.
Right.
So they don't actually do it. They are allowed to do it by the scope of their license, but they don't actually do it.
Just because lack of training.
They don't, or they're not interested. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I don't do demolition, right? Because it's just like,
right.
It's not what I could.
It's not your preference.
I don't want one.
Yeah.
Before we continue,
okay,
quick.
Oh yeah, the
we gotta
wait.
You gotta wait. You gotta guess.
Okay. Oh wow. Ooh.
We're not playing Price is Right rules, or maybe we are. I don't know.
I know. I heard that from OC. I don't think we're gonna beat. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna beat it.
You don't think you're gonna beat the
nope.
780?
So I'm gonna go 630.
630.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're in increments of 20.
Oh,
so
okay.
620 or 640.
640.
Optimism. I love it.
Do you have a guess?
Of course, I have a guess. I'm
are
not
you going
allowed
to speak it?
No.
I've said mine. 640. I've said mine, so it's safe. I'm locked in. I'm locked in.
I think you're probably a lot closer to the 780 than I think you know.
Really?
I think you do.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I drive this thing through.
You're more of an expert, so
yeah. I think you're probably. I wouldn't be shocked if you were over 780, but a lot of it's wet.
Right, but like we picked up a lot of plastic and stuff. Like there's one mattress too.
There's one mattress. If we had gotten that other mattress,
the other mattress would totally have taken us over.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah,
but there was no lifting that thing. It was easily 300 or 400
It was huge.
Pounds.
Yeah. And soaked. So
640.
I know, opportunities lost.
Fine. It's at some point it's gonna get gone, even if.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as we keep hacking away at it, right?
Right. We could bring out a chainsaw next week. There might be springs. That wouldn't be good.
No. Use it. That's what you use a sawzall for. So.
Right.
Okay. So, you can hurt people with
you can hurt people. Okay. So, for instance, in one of the most common ways that people get hurt, and it's still not common. Okay. Practicing 27 years, I have not done this. Knock wood, big time.
Right.
So one of the most common things is called a pneumothorax, which is puncturing the lining that surrounds the lung. Oh. So if you have, especially a very thin person, and you are needling inappropriately in the lung region, especially at the top of the shoulder or on the chest.
Hi there.
Hi.
there.
Any tires or appliances?
No, ma'am.
What's the zip code it's coming from?
97303.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Go forward a little bit.
So that would be the thing. You can puncture the lining of the lung and cause an air bubble. And that would be, then they would have to, person have to go to the hospital and they have to like release the air bubble.
Right.
Because it's it could collapse the lung.
Right. No, one of the things we learned about in biology, because hydrogen bonding is what they talk about, is actually your lungs, they stick to there's like a water, like they stick to the cage or something. And
the
so,
rib cage. Mm-hmm.
and if you put a hole in there and there's air in there, now
Mm-hmm.
it can't stick. And so you can't,
Right. Right. Right.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the most common. I mean, it is possible to puncture another organ. Very uncommon.
Right.
Extremely uncommon. And but that would be bad.
Right.
Right. So we don't do that.
Right.
And then people worry. It's extremely low risk. Like we use sterile needles that are one use only.
Right.
And so you use a needle, you throw it in a sharps container.
Right.
Those get sent away, melted down, whatever they do to recycle that. So the risk of infection is extremely low.
Right.
Yeah.
Only if so would you say if somebody's like, hey, if you go to an acupuncturist who's using like an autoclave system where they're sanitizing their needles, you'd be like, maybe.
I mean, that is possible. One of my classmates was from the Ukraine, and that she had to do that because in other countries, like needles are not easily gotten. They're actually really expensive. If you look at they're a few cents a needle, but if you have to buy thousands of needles because you are disposing of them in practice, then yes, an autoclave is an option. And she used to have her husband sharpen the needles under a microscope.
Okay.
And then autoclave them, sanitize them for being multi-use needles.
Right.
And apparently, like old school China, people would carry their own set of needles. So they weren't necessarily cleaned, but they were only used on you.
Oh, kind of like when you go to like a salon or a spa or something, you have your own file, you have your own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Listen,
like that.
I like to treat myself every once in a while.
I've never been, so
oh my
wow.
Gosh, you should get a mani-pedi. They're so great. They're so great. No, you have to. So when you go get a pedicure, because of the risk of fungus, foot fungus, and transferring it, you are only given.
You basically buy your own set of stuff, and then you bring it with you.
And then you bring it with you.
Wow.
And that keeps you from having to get a fungal infection or anything like that.
That's great. That's a good practice.
Yeah. Yeah. People like to keep things clean. So, so the I guess the risk of with somebody who has an autoclave system, the risk of infection goes up a lot faster than somebody who's using a brand
disposable.
Yeah. But like 2%, 1%.
It's still very low.
Yeah.
So for instance, we have to learn clean needle technique and bloodborne pathogens and stuff like that. Like the number, even back in the 90s, and AIDS was way more of a concern than people seem to think it is now.
Right.
But the chances of getting
Hep B, Hep C,
right, from a needle stick, which is like when you stick a needle in a person and then you accidentally stick yourself.
Right.
Like the number of acupuncturists that have stuck themselves with a needle that has been on a patient is probably like almost 100%. Do you know what I mean? That happens a fair amount. The number of acupuncturists have gotten infected from that kind of thing. Nothing.
Do you guys have, is it a pretty good idea to get yourself
the Hep B vaccination?
Hep B, Hep C vaccinations?
I did I got 2 out of the 3 shots back when I was in Baltimore working on basically drug addicted population.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was doing detox for drug addiction work. And I did get, because that is a more scary thing, basically. It was more scary than AIDS.
Yeah. No, trust me, I clean up enough homeless camps that it's, or I don't even know what the politically correct. It's, the people experiencing homelessness, those camps, you have to be, and I think the education around it has gotten a lot better. So it's very rare to find an open needle. Usually they're all capped when you find them. But
that's interesting.
it's still, I mean, you still got to be careful.
Yeah.
It can get, it's,
yeah. Oh, and so just to point out, those needles are hollow.
Right. Yours are
Acupuncture
solid?
needles are solid stainless steel.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So they're not bringing anything and that's also why people don't usually bleed, or if there is any blood, it's a drop. Like if I hit a capillary, there might be a drop, but you can't really hit a vessel because the walls of your arteries are so hard compared to the needle, like it just bounces off.
Right.
But a capillary, you could hit a capillary, right? So sometimes there is
Interesting.
drops of blood, but not really. And it's not, and that's why it is so safe, is because it's not like, it doesn't have a hollow bore where there's holding some material.
Yep.
And then if you stick yourself, that's a problem. And but with hollow needles, that there's way higher likelihood of something being transmitted.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's partly why acupuncture.
Well, and yeah, because you can,
and don't really worry about it.
You can essentially take more material with you with a hollow needle.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's where the term dry needling, like, so this is the thing about dry needling. Dry needling is a technique, I think, started by physical therapists, whereby they used a hollow needle, but without anything in it, to basically put into the tissue and break it up. So to break up scarring or break up like dense tissue, they would use a hollow needle and like jab it in there.
Ooh.
So this is where dry needling gets its name. Nowadays, because there wasn't anything in the needle, and then they stick it in you and they break up the tissue with it. Nowadays, those people are using acupuncture needles to do dry needling.
Okay.
And so they're basically not doing acupuncture because they're not doing acupuncture theory, but they're still sticking needles in people in trigger points, or actually probably acupuncture points, and breaking up the tissue. So that's what that technique is. But that's why we're like, why would you allow anybody to do dry needling with like almost no training?
Right, because it's more dangerous. The risk of infection, the risk of transmission of.
Yeah. But I do think they're actually using acupuncture needles now to do that technique instead of the hollow needles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question would be, what's your favorite success story? Like, of any of your clients that you've worked with, past, present, which you're like, this is like my one testimonial that I carry with me all the time. I have one. I think everybody who serves in any way, they all have that one success story.
Right. I mean, I've had quite a few success stories. I mean, people who have were dealing with infertility and got pregnant, like that's always a really amazing thing. I have definitely had a few people, often veterans actually. I've had a couple of veterans who came in completely cynical and like, basically, I don't think this is going to help, but it's kind of my last resort, and have very positive experiences with reducing their pain. And then they're like, holy cow, I never, like, you've made me a believer.
Right.
And so that kind of thing that's the greatest thing. That's why I like the skeptics, because I'm like, you don't have to believe in anything. Like people do acupuncture on animals. I know somebody who used to, I don't know if she still does, she did acupuncture on the animals in the Baltimore Zoo.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So animals don't believe in anything. I mean, people pay a lot of money for acupuncturists to treat their horses, like these high-end horses and stuff like that. You don't have to believe in anything for it to have an effect. Like, you're not going to pay hundreds of dollars to get your horse acupuncture if nothing is changing. But there is an effect. And so that's why I'm like, you don't have to believe in anything. Because my dog doesn't believe in anything. The horses, that have been treated, I haven't treated horses, but other people don't believe in anything. So what is the actual effect? Like, don't worry about your belief system. Just experience. Like, what are you going to,
be open and
be
honest
in your
about
experience?
It.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. And then people are like, oh, I slept so much better. Like, these are some of the things. I slept like a baby. Wow, that hasn't happened in years. Or just less stress overall. And it does make it hard. Like people are like, okay, I'm coming in, I'm an 8 out of 10 pain. And then the next week it's like,
6 out of 10.
wow, 6 out of 10 pain. But then as you get lower and lower, it's like the number, like the whole number system of putting a number on your pain is extremely,
It's
I think,
subjective.
silly.
Super subjective.
And so what started as an 8 out of 10 pain, now your scale has completely changed because you've never gone back to that number. And so now it's like, oh, well, now
I can sleep through the night without having to wake up from my hip hurting or
that kind of thing.
Got it.
So then,
Yeah, no, I've always found the pain scale, like all pain scales, all things like that, they're all very subjective and they're all very personal because it's like, what I call a 4, you might call a 12.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
likely.
Right. So it's
so it's it's very hard. I mean, one of my teachers, my main teacher, used to say, when you came in, it was a 10. Now what is it? And so she would just start out like whatever you were experiencing when you came in was a 10. And so now what's your number? And I like that because then whatever it is, so your 10 coming in today, tomorrow when you come in is really a 3 out of 10 pain compared to the 10. But if you're counting that as 10 and then you can take that down to 5, that's fantastic.
That's literally half.
Right. So
But
I think that's more realistic because we are geared to forget about pain. This is why women have more than one baby. We are geared as a species to forget about pain once it's gone.
Right.
And so you can't really compare the pain that you're experiencing today with the pain that you experienced yesterday.
Right.
Because you're a different person.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, pain only serves the purpose of education. And don't touch the hot fire.
Right, exactly.
Don't go near the
I mean, there's like, that we get into pain loops where we are experiencing pain even though there isn't the actual impetus.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes your brain can get into a pain loop.
Mm-hmm.
And there are different ways of treating that, including acupuncture can help with that.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes people have to do other things as well,
Right.
like mindfulness. Like that's why now there's all the pain management clinics that teach people mindfulness meditation.
Right.
Because when you're stuck, when you're in that pain loop where it's not even like your toe is not actually telling you there's any pain, but you're still feeling it because of the pain loop, then you have to do something different.
You see a lot of that with people who have
amputations.
Phantom pain.
Yeah.
Like people who
my
foot hurts and I lost my foot.
Right. But that's speaking towards the energetic body as well.
Right.
And acupuncture can be really helpful with phantom pain.
Yeah. I've heard the treatment for the like treatment that they do is they put your like whatever limb, like they'll put it in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't see it, and then they'll put a
mirror,
and then another limb, and then they'll relieve the pain on the limb.
Yeah, so like you can't see where your right leg used to be, but there's a mirror, so your left leg looks like your right leg,
right.
And then you can manipulate the left leg, and you're seeing the right as if the right leg were there,
right?
Like releasing whatever's going on. I know, it's amazing. And that speaks to the neuroplasticity of the brain, right?
Yeah.
That they used to think the brain was like kind of set at age 5 or something like that and never changed. But actually now they know the brain can change all the way up until you die.
Right.
That you have, so we have, and this is, okay, so this is something really important I want to say. I have people in their 40s sometimes or 30s saying, well, it must be because I'm getting older. And I'm like, you're not that old. Or people in their 50s or 60s saying, well, my doctor says I am getting older. Oh, they want to tell us something.
This is a new guy, Mike. We're like all the workers here and all the junk removal companies in the area. We're all kind of like a small little family. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a few dysfunctional ones, and we love them nonetheless.
That's a family.
But that is a family.
Family is about.
I'm gonna hop out and pull the tarp.
Okay.
So, like your partner said, don't fart in the truck. They'll hear.
Okay.
that comment? Maybe. What? Come on now. What do you mean, bro? Did I do something wrong? I was gonna say, I'm like,
He's referring to a comment I made. I'm a little bit. I treat every different. I noticed, by the way, you're not very active on social media, which is that's very good for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for my mental health.
Social media is one of those things that will just, if you take it too seriously, it's just gonna
It'll eat you up.
Mm-hmm. So I have different personalities on the different social medias that I'm on.
Oh, okay.
And like on Instagram, I'm a little bit more unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
I say just weird things, but on like Facebook, I like telling stories, telling drunk removal stories and stuff like that, because you run into all sorts of weird stuff when you're in drunk removal.
Yes.
And he was making a comment because he had put up, him and I are friends on Instagram, and he put up posted a meme and something about when you go to a party and you get white girl wasted or something, and you start dancing with people, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of mean, because I when I get white girl wasted, I tend to I dance with everybody. This is how I am. It's great.
Oh, this is the area where you can dump it off. That's great.
I don't have to hand unload anything.
Thank God.
Don't have to hand unload anything.
What about that TV?
We're gonna pull it off. I'm gonna go open it, and then I'm gonna pull the TV off.
And then take it to the other.
I'll take it down to recycling. I always count TVs as an additional 20 pounds. So you get, because it's going to stay on the load, so it won't count.
He's throwing out the ladder.
Yeah, he should be recycling that.
Yeah, what the
heck? I've learned that I can only control me.
Yeah.
I can get out here and yell at this guy, but he's not going to care.
No.
So, it is what it is.
Need my help opening up?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Go.
All right. I'm not sure if I turned this off by accident.
Nope, you didn't.
Oh, the green light's on. Okay, good.
The green light's on. We're still recording. I hope we're still recording. Should probably check that.
We have to check our weight and see
how close you got.
how close.
I'm going to check this real quick, make sure we are still in fact recording. We are still in fact recording. Make sure I get that straight on. Probably have to cut that out, but maybe not. We'll leave it in. Who cares?
Keep it easy.
Keep it easy. Who's out first? We'll go this one.
Oh, right.
Alrighty.
I meant to get more money.
No.
No.
Patriot pays for all this. It's the whole point of the sponsorships.
Oh,
the
right.
Businesses sponsor. So this week we actually had Bravo Pest Control.
Oh, excellent.
David.
Okay.
He's a good friend of the show. He was actually.
I saw him on it.
540. He was the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, absolutely.
Okay. So I could sponsor a future episode.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Here we go. Moment of truth. Moment of truth.
Mhm.
Ooh. Ahoy! I know what that means. And we kept the TV, so you get an additional 20 pounds. We did that with Ollie, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, we gave him an additional, or some. No, we did that with David. David did an addition, got an
Okay.
additional 20
Yeah, I didn't
pounds.
see that end of it.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. You said 6:40, right?
I said 6:40.
Okay.
What's our
Go.
actual?
1,100 pounds even.
Whoa! Woo! That's amazing.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Whoa, a new record.
New record. That's going to
Awesome.
be a tough one to beat. We'll see, though. I knew it was like,
Way over.
I was like, no, this thing feels like we're like 800-900 pounds. I didn't know we were 1,100. All right.
That's
Ladies
amazing.
and gentlemen.
Awesome.
That's the end of the episode. We're going to go recycle a TV and want to thank today's sponsor, Bravo Pest Control. Thank you, Wendy, for coming and teaching us about acupuncture
Thank you.
setting records.
It was fun. Hey, this is great.
It was a blast. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.